Are you ready to take your moving company to the next level? Then you won't want to miss the Grow Your Moving Company workshop, hosted by Move It Pro. This 2-day event is packed with insights, strategies, and tips on how to streamline your operations, maximize your profits, and take your business to new heights. At the Grow Your Moving Company workshop, you'll hear from experts who have been in your shoes and know what it takes to succeed in this competitive industry. You'll get insider knowledge on how to generate leads, close more deals, and build a brand that sets you apart from the rest. So don't wait. Head over to growworkshop.moveitpro.com to register for the event today. That's growworkshop.moveitpro.com. We'll see you there.
Welcome to the Moving Company Owners Podcast, where we dive deep into the world of moving companies and the people who make them run. From industry leaders to successful moving company owners, we explore their stories, strategies, and insights to help you grow your business and take it to the next level. Whether you're just starting out or a seasoned veteran, this is the podcast for you. So sit back, relax, and get ready to move your business forward with your host, Jason Bergenske.
Hey guys, Jason Bergenske here with Moving Company Owners Podcast. Today we have Jacky with 3 Men Movers. How you doing, Jacky?
We're fine. How are you?
Good. Thank you for being on today. Normally we start this podcast off and just kind of introduce your company and yourself to the listeners. One of the things that we kind of go through is, how you got into the moving business and how the company was originally founded. But I'll kind of let you start from there.
So my name is Jacky Fischer, and I'm here in Houston. And the original way it started was my dad had a furniture company. He was building furniture, and it went out of business. So he was stuck with this junky delivery truck and a stack of bills. And I kind of think a lot of movers get in that way. That's how they start. So he started moving furniture. If he was 50 years old, put an ad in the paper, was going to do it just until he could figure out some better job to do, right? Because who wants to be a mover? So anyway, he was doing that. And after a few months, people started passing his name around. During that time, the industry was not regulated in Texas. So being a quality mover, people started passing his name around. He started getting repeat referrals, and his company started to grow. And then how I came along, when I was 12 years old, I used to come home from school and I would check the answering machine back when we had landlines. I would check the answering machine and I would call customers back, and I used to book moves. And I was his first salesperson. So then in 2002, my dad had a massive stroke, and I was in college at the time, and he asked if I could help him in the company. He was having a hard time keeping up with everything. And so I came in, and I was supposed to just kind of help for a couple of weeks, and it ended up being almost a year. And at that time, I realized that the one thing I didn't want to do in my life is work for my dad, because he was really tough, and it was just really hard working for him. So I gave him my notice, and I told him that I thought our relationship was better as mother and her father and daughter instead of employee and boss. And when I told him that, he told me, "Get the heck out of here. I don't need you anyway." So kind of an interesting conversation. And so I left. And about a week later, the movers found out that I left, and they all signed the back of an invoice. And they took it to my dad, and they said, "We want your daughter to come back and work for you. We want her to continue running the company." So my dad reached out to me begrudgingly and said, "Will you come back?" And I said, "Only if you sell the company to me." So that's how I got him back into the business. He ended up selling the company to me, and I paid him over 15 years. I've paid him off in 2019. He passed away in 2016, so the last couple of years I was writing those checks to my mom. So long story, but that's how I got her.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's awesome. And that's, super neat to have a family-owned business and be able to pass it along throughout the family.
Yeah.
Our family did something really similar. My grandparents started a moving company in Orlando, Florida in 1968.
Wow.
My dad took it over in 85, so that's kind of funny. And then I took it over in about 2012 or so. Mm-hmm. And then I ended up selling it a couple of years ago because I'd built software for Move It Pro for moving companies, and obviously that had taken off, and I kind of wanted to be out of the day-to-day operations of moving companies any longer. So, yeah. So that's awesome. And so kind of give us an idea what the size of the company was when you bought it, I guess. So in 2003, so that was 20 years ago.
Right around $3 million annually, and we've grown it to over $40 million annually. I think this year will be just slightly under that. The economy's a little soft right now, but I think like 2021 we're at 42.
And what did you? So in 2003, what was it again? 3 million. And last year was around 40.
Yeah.
Perfect. That's awesome. That's substantial growth, obviously, since you've taken over. And then, so currently, how many trucks are you guys running? Obviously, I know that fluctuates, business season, sleep season.
I knew you were going to ask that, so I looked. So we have 102 trucks out up the road.
That's awesome. And then the majority of your business is residential, commercial. Where's your majority of your guys' stuff?
The majority of our business is residential. We don't really try to get into the commercial market. We found our niche, and we like residential. A lot of times people who own their own company, though, we move them, and then when they want to move their business, they call us. Even though we don't really advertise to that, they found somebody they trust, so they reach out to us. So we do commercial jobs, just not as many.
Sure. And then, so I guess, where's your headquarters at?
Headquarters is in Houston.
In Houston, got it. And then you service for the majority part of Texas, I guess. You mentioned some other locations. Do you have multiple offices, or you're there just kind of you're servicing from those areas?
No. We dispatch from those locations. So we have trucks and offices in Dallas, San Antonio, Austin, and of course here in Houston. And then we service all over Texas, some of the surrounding states. And if a customer asks us, we'll take them out of town. But I usually try to convince them not to use us, because I don't think we're the cheapest solution for going out of town, because we're going to send our 3 guys in the truck. We're going to deadhead back. So it's a little more expensive. But some customers want to use us for that. And if they do, we provide those services.
Got it. And so if a customer calls and they want 2 men in a truck, will you send 2 out, or you only send 3? Always 3. Always 3. I was being a little funny. So it's good.
Kind of funny because we secret shopped before 2 men in a truck, and we were like, we want to know your rates for 2 men, and they're like, no, we're gonna have to send you 3 guys. But your name of your company is 2 men, but no, they were gonna send us 3. So
I've seen it often, seeing a 2 men in a truck driving down the road, and there's 3 guys in the front. So I often wonder which one of them is not a man, which one of them is not. Are they not counting?
College hunks too, and I look in the truck, and I'm like, I don't think those are college hunks.
That's great. So that's awesome, and that's a super neat story. And I mean, growing from 3 million to 40 million, I mean, that's exponential. So tell me a little bit, as far as part of that growth. What has been some of the things that you think are key factors, other than just picking up more business? What are some of the things that you think helps with
that? There's quite a few things. One of the things is empowering your people. You can't scale your company if you try to hold all the control yourself. And I think a lot of times, especially in this industry, it's usually run by a guy, mostly guys. There's some women out there. That wants to kind of have complete control of the organization. And so they have a hard time empowering others. And I think it also, with empowered employees, you get to do more things you want to do. You get to take a vacation, not have your phone blow up. And when people own their job, they're going to be more committed. They're going to be more engaged. And if it's just all you're only as good as you are. But if you've got a team, a big group of people, and they're all committed and engaged, you have the resources of everybody, and everybody's rowing in the same direction. So I think having an empowered team is probably one of the most important.
Sure. And then, so tell me a little bit as far as the different revenue streams you guys have. So I think I saw earlier you guys do have some storage.
Yeah, we used to do self-storage, and it was a great opportunity for us. If you know anything about that industry, if you can buy one, fill it up, and sell it, you can make a lot of money off of it. Now we do mobile storage, and it fits our business model a lot better because the guys that are on the truck can go out and fill them up and bring them back to the office, and then we store them in our climate-controlled facility here in Houston. We have that product in San Antonio as well, and we're getting ready to build a location in Austin for mobile storage. So that's the product that we have. We do packing and unpacking, and we sell supplies for those services.
Sure. And so the mobile storage, are you, only because majority of people, are they similar to like a pods type storage, or are they ones that you move around and you have a special forklift you take out, or are they the small crate ones?
It's different. We don't leave them at the customer's house. We bring them back here to the office. And it's not do it yourself either, because I mean, being in the industry, I think people who get into the mobile storage business that are not in the moving business, they don't understand all the issues you can have with mobile storage. We know, being movers, that most of the accidents and damages for furniture happens while the truck is in transit. It's usually like you think of like a moving claim as a guy dropping something down the steps, but it's usually not what it is. It's because it's bouncing around in the truck and he gets like bounced around and it breaks. And so we really don't like to do it yourself where they fill the container, because we want to wrap it, we want to put straps on it, we want to make sure that limit is secure so all their stuff gets there safe.
Sure. So this is something where you guys will drop off the mobile storage, then you guys are the ones loading it and then bring it back to your facility, waiting for them to re-deliver it at their new house, and then you guys unload it. Perfect. Okay. Makes total sense. So, kind of about your business a little bit, what are, a few of the differentiators you think that if a company, or not company, but if a residence just sold their house and they're looking at using your company over one of the franchises or another independently owned moving company, what's some of the things that you think stand out about your company of why you guys have grown so much?
So I think one of the things, and it's very, it sounds cliche, but I know it sounds cliche when I say this, but it's about the guys that are on the truck and out in the field. And sometimes I go to the Southwest Movers Association, or I go to the Houston Movers Association, and not even in the moving industry, in other industries. I'm a member of a lot of executive organizations, and I hear people say, my employees are a bunch of idiots. Have you ever heard that?
Oh, yeah. They always want to blame the employees, yeah.
Yeah, oh, my employees, man, I work with a bunch of idiots. And I hear that, and when I hear that, it kind of makes me cringe, because I feel like if they're showing up every day and they're doing substandard work and you're paying for them to do substandard work, then they're not the idiot, then probably the business owner's the idiot, right? Because you're paying for them to do a job that you're not satisfied with. Sure. And so being able to have really good employees that you feel are doing their job well, I think that's really important. And what that means is you've got to get the best people on your team. You've got to be willing to fire people until you get the right people on your team. And that's not fun, but I would rather have a group of people that I care about and respect than have people that I'm constantly mad about because they're not doing their job properly.
Sure. And then kind of to go back to when you first took the company over, only because it kind of resonates a little bit with the economy now being a little soft. So you took over in 2003, which then obviously 2005, 2006 was hot for moving companies. And then all of a sudden it all dropped out. How did your company, fare in all of that? And what did you do to get through that? Because obviously you guys successfully got through that. And now we're kind of heading into, which I don't think is going to be as bad, but we're definitely heading into something where interest rates are really high. A lot of people aren't selling their homes because they have super low interest rates. So they don't want to get rid of that or whatnot. So obviously, it's slowing down.
Yeah, absolutely. So the economy is cyclical. And I think the first time I went through a downturn, I was really afraid because I had never experienced that. I felt like the whole world was coming to an end. My numbers were going up, and then all of a sudden they started flattening out, and then they started kind of going down. I was like, oh my God. And so it's great to have good mentors around you. I spoke to one of my mentors, and he said, well, and I was like complaining, basically. I was saying, oh, everything's wrong. And he said, you just need to make the decision not to participate in this recession. And as funny as that sounds, I thought, is that an option? I can just decide I don't want to participate in the recession. I didn't know that was an option. And so it made me think that it could be optional, and that there's different levers that you can pull to help your business. So like one of the things that business owners do is they start trying to control their expenses, which is absolutely the right thing. But you don't want to pull back on marketing. Not at this time. You want to keep pushing with marketing and keep trying to grow market share during your downturns. And it's about just getting scrappier. I think our company runs better during a recession when the market is great. Like a couple of years ago when people were putting out like 10 offers on one house and it's like 10% over the asking price. And it was just crazy. And people were moving left, right, and center. At that time, my company got a little lazy. And I heard this expression like high tide hides all sins or something like that. When the tide goes out or back, you realize you're standing there like naked or whatever. So when the revenue is coming in and everything's going really well, you get kind of loose. You start overspending. You start getting lazy about your close ratio and answering the phone calls and all of that. And then all of a sudden, when the leads are you almost become complacent, sure. With your own success. And then when the leads start going down, everybody gets scrappier. So I do feel like my company runs better when in a slower economy.
Sure. Attention, moving company owners. Are you tired of managing your business with spreadsheets and pen and paper methods? Do you want to streamline your operations, increase your bookings, and look more professional to your customers? Then it's time to switch to Move It Pro software. Our cloud-based platform provides everything you need to manage your moving company in one place, from booking and dispatching to payment processing and customer communication. Plus, with features like GPS tracking, real-time notifications, and detailed reporting, you'll be able to optimize your operations and take your business to the next level. So what are you waiting for? Visit www.moveitpro.com to schedule a free demo today and see how we can help you move your business forward.
Yeah. And, it's interesting. We saw, I wasn't running the company that my father was running at that time then. But I was obviously alive and experienced it and was an adult and went through it. I will say like half of our competitors went out of business. And the big thing that we saw happen, my dad was a big believer in not going into debt for trucks and stuff like that. Everyone has different beliefs on it, but it was, our warehouse and everything was originally had a mortgage on it and obviously was built, big warehouse. But then he never refinanced it, never took money out on it, and it was paid off actually during the recession. And we literally saw, because 04, 05, 06, mainly 05, 06, it was booming. All these moving companies were making so much money because homes were selling way over what they were worth. So people were making a lot of money when they were selling their homes. So then obviously they used movers, right? So we saw all of our competitors go out and buy all brand new trucks, all brand new offices, paying high dollars for everything. And then as soon as the economy collapsed, they were stuck with all these monthly bills coming in that they could no longer support, and their trucks were parked in their parking lot. And that was one of probably the neatest thing for me to see, because, I saw how much money the company was bringing in during 05, 06, and he wouldn't spend it, for like on investing. He invested in the business. I'm not saying that, but he wasn't buying new trucks. He wasn't buying all that stuff. Because he didn't want to go into debt. But then seeing the flip side of it, of everyone going out of business, which literally was probably half of the industry in Central Florida, And we got through it by just doing the rest of our cutbacks. And, it wasn't that bad in the sense of what some companies, went out of business was really interesting to see. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. You've got to be a good financial steward of your company. And my goal is during any slow economic downturn, my goal is not to fire good people. I'm okay with getting rid of people that are not doing a good job, but because I can't afford to pay them because I didn't manage my money properly, to let go of an employee that has value, that would break my heart. So my being not going into debt like what you're talking about, and then also don't lower your prices in the middle of a slow economic period, because then you're doing less moves at a smaller margin, and it's not necessarily going to increase the number of moves that you're doing. So yeah, those are some good points.
Yeah. And I think anytime we saw where we would do price reductions and stuff, the cheaper moves usually had the highest amount of claims. And not saying that our guys did more claims, it's that those people would more often file more claims to try and get their bill cheaper or get a discount or whatever whenever we.
We always get claims right before Christmas time. And I don't know if that's like common I would love to do a study and see if there's something to it, but it does feel like in the middle of summer when everybody's moving, we hardly have any claims, and then right before Christmas, boom, the claim hit.
Yeah. It's because they need to buy their kids gifts. They're trying to get you to pay for it.
I would wonder about that. I do wonder about that.
That's interesting. So the trucks that you guys have, what has been your way of getting trucks? Obviously, growing to over 100 trucks, that's pretty substantial. What's the thought process as you guys are continually adding trucks to your fleet? Are you guys majority leasing them? Are you buying them outright? Are you buying brand new? Are you buying used? What is it?
Cash. Sometimes we buy used ones and sometimes we buy new ones. But we purchase them.
And then are you buying them as soon as you're hitting a point where, we need another truck? Or are you renting for a little while to make sure that you're keeping up? Or what's kind of the process there?
Just not like during the rental. So we usually start doing our capacity planning in January and February. We start looking at the market. We start looking at housing starts and mortgage rate applications and things like that. That kind of will get, it's like looking into a crystal ball and you have to decide. And, sure. and if you miss it, if you don't add enough capacity, you're instead of it being a nice hill in the summertime, the moving chart as the number of moves looks like a big hill. It looks more like a volcano, and you miss that kind of peak and all of those extra moves you don't get. So you've got to get the capacity planning right.
Yep, absolutely. And so when you guys, so it kind of goes with employees too. So obviously scaling to the size that you guys are, how has the employee market been for you guys since COVID, where a lot of companies have struggled keeping and hiring new employees that want to be able to work? Obviously, a lot of it is due to it. Go ahead, you're good.
You froze a little bit.
You're saying.
So, right before COVID, it was like 2019, we made a decision that we wanted to bring our lowest paid employees up. And so we wanted to make sure every employee in our company made over $20 an hour. And we just did that because we thought it was the right thing to do. And then when COVID hit, I think right after COVID, when a lot of the employees left the workforce, it was harder to hire people. A lot of people started giving their employees raises at that time because people were leaving. And on the way out the door, they were like, no, please, I'm going to give you a raise. I'm going to give you healthcare insurance. And they started doing all these things. But I think it was a little bit too little and a little bit too late. And it smacked like insincerity, and people already had their foot off the door, and they were looking for companies that would pay them more. So I think it wasn't like we knew what was going to happen. It was just kind of luck, I guess, that we started doing that ahead of time. So we didn't really lose any employees during COVID. Right before COVID, we had maybe 2 or 3 employees that were kind of on the fence, and I was like, let's let them get their unemployment and cut them loose, because I didn't know what was going to happen. And luckily, COVID for the moving industry really didn't hurt the moving industry very much. Just maybe the first, 3 or 4 months of it. And then people, wanted to move. I guess they wanted that home office, and the housing, the interest rates were low, and there's a lot of houses on the market. And then we had that huge increase in people moving. It was actually pretty helpful for us. But definitely, I think as CEOs and as business owners, we can do better with our employees and just make sure that they have what they want. And I'll tell you a good way to think about it. I was in this business group with this guy, and his daughter had just graduated from college, and he was talking about her trying to find a job. And he was like, yeah, I don't want her to work there because it's commission only and she's not going to get paid a base pay. And I don't want her to work there because she's not going to get any health benefits and they don't have time off. And I know for a fact that all these things he wanted for his daughter, he didn't provide for his employees. So create a company that you want your children to work at, that you feel is good enough for your daughter. And, if you want her to have lead to have your grandchild, then give your employees that same benefit. So that's how I look at things.
No, that's great. That's awesome. So tell me a little bit as far as the marketing strategies you guys have done. I guess start with things that have worked. What are things that have worked that you guys have done over the years?
We do a lot of internet marketing. That works really well for us. Also, trying to get a new customer obviously is challenging, but keeping the existing one is super important. So being willing to maybe not have a profitable move just because you want to protect your reputation, because you want a good review on the internet. Being willing to lose a little up front just to keep a customer long term. I think that's probably one of the number one things that we do, but also a lot of SEO, a lot of PPC, a lot of internet advertising.
Sure. And do you guys have campaigns that you try and work with realtors and stuff like that and trying to get accounts? Or
we don't really work with realtors right now. We do work with some apartment complexes, senior living and things like that, but not so much realtors. But it's something that is on our radar, but we kind of have our hands full with what we have now. But it's definitely, it's like that list of things to do.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. What are some marketing, things that you guys have done in the past that you're like, man, I wish we didn't do that, or it just didn't work, or didn't, at the end of the day, didn't make sense?
We tried radio. That didn't work out for us. We tried social media campaigns, which I think is probably, it's not a bad thing for branding and a new market, and it's fairly inexpensive. But I think for trying to actually get leads, we were never very successful with that.
Sure. And then, what's kind of the plans for your guys' company now? Are you guys still opening more locations you had mentioned? What's kind of the next steps?
Yeah, so we've had a couple of false starts in Miami. We're trying to get open in South Florida. We're still working on that. Like I said, we're adding mobile storage to Austin. We're building a very large warehouse just outside of it. On 290 and I-30, so 3 miles from the new Tesla plant. So we're doing that. We're probably going to get a new office here because we've ran out of truck parking. So we're just kind of moving around, trying to get all kind of comfortable and logistically have enough space for everyone.
Sure. So those offices you guys have, is your goal usually, are you purchasing the properties, or are you leasing at first? What's kind of that look like?
I think that if you have the money, you should always purchase, because when you retire in this industry, say you get an office and you're like in your 40s and you're leasing for 20 years, you go to retire and you got to sell your company. Moving companies don't sell for huge multiples. But if you actually paid that lease money to yourself and bought a piece of property, then you might have a couple $1 million with that you could sell your property for, and that'll help towards retirement. So we've always purchased our building.
Yeah, that's good. And we did the same. So it's super interesting because, I mean, that's pretty much my dad's retirement, right? So, sold a moving company that had been in business for, 53 years at that point. And you're right, moving companies don't sell for super multiples like some companies do. It's a very hands-on type business. But his main retirement is that office building or, big warehouse that now is completely rented out. He's maintained it and kept it.
Oh, that's great.
But
Cash flow.
Yep, and it literally cash flows every month. And it's funny, he laughs because he bought that property back in '85, and I think the property he bought was $100,000, and he built the building was only like another $150,000, right? So 250, say $300,000. Now the property's worth $3 or $4 million, and the rent on it's like $20,000 a month, $25,000 a month coming in. It's more than he made when he was running the moving company, and he does nothing.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And so that's super neat. And that's one of the, the other things. So many people, they rent and rent and rent and rent and rent. But when you get to the point, that's the biggest thing, because I've seen so many moving company owners hit a point where they can't do it anymore, or they just get sick of it. They're done. Your father, he was ready to be out of it. And if they don't have the property like that or things like that to be able to sell, they end up with nothing at the end, which is terrible.
I don't know if my dad was ready to be out of it. He was one of those guys who wanted to be in the office all the time. He didn't know how to use a computer, and, he needed to retire.
Yep. Well, and then, him having the health issues and stuff towards the end.
When the business cash flows, you take that cash and do you just spend it, or do you put it in an asset that'll appreciate over time? If you put it in an asset now, you buy a building that's like $1 million, 20 years from now, that building will be worth maybe $5 million. Correct. You have to think about things like that.
Yeah,
I agree.
That's neat.
Are you a moving company struggling to keep up with customer calls? Let Lions Den Booking Service handle your overflow, after-hours calls, or even the entirety of your sales. As a call center booking service, we're dedicated to helping your business thrive. With years of experience and a commitment to customer satisfaction, we'll make sure your clients receive the best possible service. Trust us to take your business to the next level. Contact Lions Den Booking Service today. www.lionsdensales.com.
So your father, you had mentioned, passed away a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously you had been growing the company since 2003. Kind of how happy was he with seeing the company's growth, and I can imagine that was kind of neat, him seeing that the company lived on.
So the first couple of years, he was kind of cranky about everything. He didn't like that. I bought a big warehouse, and he didn't like the location of the warehouse, and he didn't like some of the changes I made. But after a while, he started seeing the growth and how it was good for the employees and what I was doing. And it was funny because I went up to visit a cousin of mine, and she was like, "Oh, your dad talks about you all the time. He says how proud he is of you." I was like, "Are you sure you're talking about the same man?" Because he just never said anything. But as he kind of got older, the very last couple of years of his life, he did start recognizing me and telling me how proud he was. And it took me till I was in my 40s to hear that, but better late than never.
I mean, I think it's super neat that he got to see all of that towards the end, regardless if he was bitter in the beginning. But I can imagine him being super proud with seeing where you took the company and stuff, which is really cool. That's awesome. So tell me also, I think you wrote a book, right? So tell me a little bit about that.
So it's called Paradox, and it's the story of this company, but even more so, it's a story about how you can scale your company. So it goes through everything I learned in the past 20 years. I wish somebody would have taught me, so I could have avoided some of these mistakes. It's in this book. So I literally went down and wrote everything I wish I would have known and created a chapter on everything. And so it's packed full of really good ideas of how to scale your company from beginning to end. One of my pet peeves is when you read a book, even a good business book, sometimes it has one big idea and you read the first 30% and you're like, okay, I got it. And then it just kind of keeps hitting you over the head with the exact same thing over and over again. You could kind of condense the book into probably a third of what the size of the book is. Well, in this book, there's a lot of good ideas from beginning to end. So it's available on Amazon, at Barnes & Nobles, and at Target. You can pre-order it right now, and it will arrive to you in November.
That's awesome. And what's it called again?
It's called The Growth Paradox, Rethinking Control, Accountability, and Change to Move Your Business to the Next Level. And Jacky Fischer. And it's also going to be on Audible. So I didn't get the part to read my book. So somebody else is reading it, which lucky for whoever listens to it, because who would want to listen to me for, 20 hours or so.
That's awesome, though. That's super cool. And you just, you said it was on pre-order. So you just finished it recently, I assume, right?
I just, the publishing industry, it's a new industry for me. So I finished it about a year ago, and it takes about a year to get to this point.
To get published and everything. Well, that's awesome. Cool. All right. Well, the next part is, I call it lightning round. So it's just asking you a few questions. They're more personal to you. Don't have to necessarily be specific to the company or whatnot.
Okay, cool.
But we'll go through them. So what's the best piece of business advice you've ever received?
From my strategy teacher, Margaret Carding. And she said, no matter how good the deal is, don't be afraid to say no and walk away.
Very good. And what's one attribute or characteristic of a successful founder or owner?
I think being brave. And I get some cards from some of the employees, and they'll say, oh, you're fearless. And I don't think I'm fearless. I think I'm afraid of a lot of things. Matter of fact, I kind of run chicken shit most of the time. I'm nervous about stuff, but I push through it. And when I say that, just also doing things that maybe people don't agree with or don't like, but doing it because you think it's right.
Yeah. And that is one of the hardest things of being a CEO or owner or manager, right? Is doing things that, may not be something that everyone's going to love, but you're doing it because it's in the best interest of the company or your customers or what you're doing, right? And that often is hard to do because sometimes it's against people you really like that work for you or have become friends and like family, and you have to do that.
And the need to be liked is so strong, to fit in and to be liked. And some kind of thing, you have to make decisions that are not super popular.
Yeah, that's good. So what's your favorite personal productivity tool or habit?
Oh, I'm like for old school. So my favorite productivity tool is my little notebook, my Rodea notebook. And I usually have about anywhere from 2 to 4 of these things a year that I go through. And, it's packed for my sloppy handwriting and notes. And at the very beginning of my book, I write my strategic plans for the year. And then every day I make notes and I try to kind of do something to keep me going in the right direction.
That's cool. What's a new or crazy business idea you'd love to pursue if you had the time?
I think 2 things. One, and I don't know if it would work. Well, one is the Japanese loop. Have you ever Googled that? It is amazing. But I think Japanese people have like houses that are only like 300 or 400 square feet, and they don't have a lot of stuff. So I'm not really sure if that would work over in the U.S., where every weekend we grab our SUV and go down to Target and fill it full of crap and then bring it into the house. And we're constantly filling our house up with tons of stuff. But the Japanese loop is so, so cool. I would love to be able to do something like that. They send a group, they pack everything up and organize everything, and they have a box for like every weird item that you can possibly imagine. Pretty neat. And then maybe I would love to try doing like a carbon neutral move where, just do the whole thing that would be maybe better for the environment. I don't have time to focus on that now. Maybe someday I will, but maybe some kind of truck that doesn't emit as much fuel. And then we use a lot of plastic when we wrap things, maybe switching to rubber bands and rental crates and things like that. I think that'd be cool.
Well, at some point, there's going to be affordable electric trucks, which I think will come into the moving industry at some point. Obviously, Tesla's made some. Yeah. They're probably too pricey now, and obviously they don't make box trucks. But yeah, it's very cool. So what's an interesting or fun fact about you that most people do not know?
I think when people see me, I don't think they realize how poor I grew up. And so sometimes I'll have somebody say, well, I don't want to invite you to my house because, you know, you're used to this or that. Because I've been very successful. And I don't think they realize that their house is a Taj Mahal compared to the crappy apartments I used to live in. So I'm very like from a pretty poor neighborhood and kind of a street kid. So, you know, maybe that's where I get my scrappiness. But I polish up well, I guess.
Well, that's really cool. And then what's one of your most important passions outside of work other than family?
Oh, wow. Other than family.
Oh, I have to add that because everyone says, oh, my family.
I love to travel, and I love going to beautiful places. So I try to get out of Houston during the summer and go up to Colorado for a little bit. And then I try to go to the Bahamas too. Yep.
Very cool. Well, that is awesome. So if anyone wants to learn about your guys' business, how would they get a hold of your guys' business? Not necessarily you, but if they're looking to move or looking for employment, things like that, where do they find you?
713-333-MOVE.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And then that's awesome. And then your book again is on Amazon.
That's on Amazon. The Growth Paradox. There's a picture of me looking like a very moody author there.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on. And I think it's awesome that, you know, obviously you grew up in the moving industry too, with your dad having it and then you taking it over. And I can tell you, I don't know your dad, but I can guarantee you he was proud of you, you know, before he passed away. Because I think it's super neat that, you know, growing a company from where he had it, which obviously already was somewhat successful, right? $3 million is no joke. You know, that's obviously a successful moving company. And then getting it to where you took it, I think he probably never realized it could grow to that size.
Yeah, I don't think so. My mom mentions that. And, you know, I do think a lot of times people come in and they're like, wow, you really grew it. And they give me a lot of credit for the company it is. But I think some of the hardest, like 0 to 3 million, I think is a lot harder than 3 to 40. I mean, he didn't have any resources. He couldn't get financing from a bank. He really had to get the brand going, and he did a phenomenal job doing that.
Yep. Yeah. Once you're making 3 million, you have some money coming in, right? You have
a boat.
You obviously already have somewhat of a reputation. You have some customers and this, that, and the other. So totally get that. But still, 3 to 40 is pretty awesome. So, well, thank you again so much for being on it, and hopefully we'll talk to you next time.
Thank you.